Hello, and welcome to the Brief on Grief. I am your host, Walter Sanderson, and this is where each week I spend some time sharing how we can understand and deal with our grief. If this is your first time you're watching on YouTube or listening on my podcast, welcome and glad to have you on. Well, let's jump right into it. For the last couple of weeks, we have been dealing with the process that we all experience while mourning the loss of someone in our lives. And on this episode in particular, I want us to talk about adjusting to my new normal, my new reality. We all know that there are times that we go shopping for clothes. In particular, you go shopping for a t-shirt or you go shopping for a hat, and no matter where you look, sometimes they are in smalls and mediums and larges, especially when it pertains to hats. Sometimes they're one size fit all. And if you're lucky and you're not like me, you likely can fit any hat. But that's the thing. When it comes to grief, it's not a hat. And there is no one size that fits all. It's different for each of us. The way I grieve fits me, and your grief, whatever that process looks like, fits you. It's the new reality of my life that I now have to accept when I've lost something or someone that I love. You know, before I began grief counseling, I used to perform funerals, and I struggled with the new normal myself. And at times, I'll be honest with you, I often skipped the funeral itself when I could. And sometimes I would just try to attend the wake, the visitation, or some of us refer to as the viewing. But I would try to skip the wake. And I have found in my own experiences that the visitation during the viewing can be the toughest at times. And it's the toughest because while we are struggling with the acceptance of our new reality, while people are struggling with the acceptance of their new reality, it is in that moment, it is at the viewing at times, it's at the visitation, it's at the wake, that it involves us having to speak with the family of the deceased person. And I'll be honest with you, there are times that we really don't know what to say. And there are other times, how can I say it? Just as a side note, maybe the best thing is not to say anything at all. But if you are going to say something and greet a family member, I ask that you simply just say to them, "I'm sorry for your loss." It is here that we want to be very careful to not give cliches. And even though we mean well, I mean cliche sayings of, you know, I'm glad they're in a better place, and I'm just glad they're not suffering. And sometimes, even from a perspective of our faith, we say things like, well, God loved them best and God doesn't make mistakes. And I'm here to tell you, as one of the faith, I do believe that God doesn't make mistakes. But in the moment when we're trying to accept our new reality, those cliche sayings or saying the wrong thing at times is not helpful, because we have to accept a reality that we really don't want to accept. That's why I tell people a lot of times, don't judge or never look down on someone who does not want to attend a funeral service, that doesn't want to attend a memorial service, because you just never know how difficult it is for that person to begin the process of accepting the new reality. And sometimes people will make us feel bad, and say, well, you should have showed up you didn't pay your respects. And it's in these moments that I want you all to understand. It's in these moments that it's not always about paying your respects to the one that is laying there. You have to, during your process and when you're mourning, you have to respect your feelings above all else. Because accepting the reality of my loss, you accepting the reality of your loss, is the process of me understanding my new identity without the person that I love. Sometimes the new identity means for a widow, for example, that the widow has to take on simple tasks like, you know, maybe taking out the garbage is something that she or he never had to do. For a widow or widower, that might mean buying groceries, and that might mean cleaning up, whatever a chore was that maybe you never did. Because of your new reality, you now have to do it. Maybe somebody, and all of us know this, there is somebody you know that is saying, I have no one to share household chores with any longer. And for the couple that has children, the new identity that I'm accepting is now that it's a challenging thing because I have to do everything that two of us did individually. Accepting the new reality means sometimes I have lost the person that I could talk to about anything and the person I could talk to about everything. You know, when I think about my grandmother, she was one that I could share anything with and never worry about being judged. And my new reality at the funeral, after the burial, after the repast is that I won't have that anymore. And so accepting the new reality is difficult and it's not easy. You can be married, you can be in a relationship, or you can be in a situationship. I'm still trying to understand what that Facebook title means. The reality now is, though, that the person you shared your bed with consistently, except for the times when you, let's say, slept on the couch because the two of you had an argument. But for the first time, your new reality seems like you acknowledge and accept the fact that you will now have to sleep alone. And it's not just sleep, things like finances are different. My new reality is I now am responsible for all of the expenses in the budget. And I know even in accepting the reality, I think a lot of times we overlook the practical things that come along with our mourning and grieving process. That rent statement still shows up the first of the month. That mortgage statement, that car payment, those things are oblivious to your new normal and they still are due each month thereafter.